now finished blending up all of the starter. I rinsed this container and poured it back in just because I prefer to use this container. It's clear so I can see through it and see what the starter is doing. Next we need to combine the self-rising flour with water so that we can get it thinned out to the correct consistency. I'm going to put that in the container. It's okay to use the same container that you used for the starter. It's all going to end up mixed together anyway. A note about the blender. Ababa told me that she tried using a food processor when her blender broke down and that it wouldn't work, and she's tried mixing it by hand. She said she doesn't know why, but it's really imperative that she use a blender. Okay, you want to mix this up with your hand. We're trying to get this just about the same consistency as what the teff was last night when we blended it. You don't have to mix this quite so thoroughly. We're going to put it in the blender. We just want to get it moist so that we can make sure we have the proper consistency. It's easier if you use your hand just because you can squeeze out the lumps of flour a little bit better that way. Alright, I want you to see the consistency. Quite lumpy and soupy. Alright, next we're going to blend this up. Now with the teff, we blend it for several minutes so that we can get out all of the grit. We don't need to blend this self-rising flour quite as long. In fact, I think that if you blend it too long that it might make it so that it doesn't have a lot of iron. We want to blend this just enough to get the lumps out. It only takes just a couple of seconds really. You can tell by looking at this if it's done, and it is. If it looks like it's not real lumpy, then you're good. You want to pour this when you're finished right in with the Injera, or the teff starter that you already have going. Since this only takes a few seconds, I'm just going to do all of it while we videotape because I need to show what the final consistency needs to look like before we let it sit out to raise again. Combined, you take your hand and you want to mix it up again. You can tell when you have it thoroughly mixed because the flour is a different color than the teff. You don't want to see any swirled colors. You want it to be one uniform color throughout the entire thing. Again, as you're using your hand to mix it up, if you happen to feel any lumps, you want to be squishing those, or throwing them away is fine too. But you don't want any lumps in this. It needs to be very smooth. Alright, now the consistency of mine is actually pretty good already. Let me explain to you what it should look like though. It's very, very soupy. Much thinner than pancake batter. Ever so slightly thicker than crepes. I don't know if you can tell. You want to have it so that you can pour it on and it will easily spread out when you shake your pan, your matad. Alright, once you have that finished, just kind of scrape down the sides if you happen to have spilled any up there. I'm going to cover it, and we are going to let that sit on the counter. We'll come back and check on it in the afternoon. What we're looking for is, you can see the level of the starter right now. It should raise a little bit at least. The more it raises, the better the injera is going to be. So we're going to come back later when that's finished.